So as I say, like this overall beginner's guide to photography, this I have sort of designed the whole webinar as four pillars of photography. So what happens is, as beginners, so when we take our camera, we see something, we like something, we go ahead and start shooting it. Click, 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 click. We start shooting it. Okay, so without trying to think or without trying to sort of like compose all the various things, what kind of settings I need to have, so the thought process probably may be a little less behind the image making compared to we see something and we just start shooting. So that is where I call that as taking an image versus making an image. So if you look at all these various four pillars of photography, all of them are sort of interconnected with each other. So you may have very good subject knowledge, concepts you may be very good, you have excellent equipment. But if your post processing skills are limited, then you may not be able to showcase the image to the outside world, be it in case of print or even sharing it on Facebook or Flickr or Picasa or any of those websites. The white balance. So this is one of the first settings which you have to get it right. Now, when I say white balance, if you look at this particular photograph, okay, so this is the elephant shot at Corbett. So it was evening around 4:30 when I photographed this. Now, white balance is more to do with the color temperature of the image. Okay, so white balance is expressed in Kelvin. So for Canon, 5200 Kelvin is what we call as the standard daylight. So, I mean, of course, for all these experiments, what we'll start doing. So, feel free to have the camera in your hand. Okay. So, saw that like any setting, specific things what I convey. So, you can just look at the camera, look at the settings. So, understand where that particular button is, how to access that. So, you can try to do all those things as and when I explain. Now, when it comes to white balance, as I said, white balance is more to do with the color temperature of the image. Now, standard daylight is 5200 Kelvin. Many of the cameras they come with presets like daylight, tungsten, shade, cloudy, flash. So that this so depends from camera to camera. And certain cameras they have the specific K. Okay, so if you go into the setting K, that means you can manually keep changing the white balance from a numbers point of view. So in my Canon 1DX and 1D Mark IV and even some of the entry mid-range cameras, okay, so you have the K. So that gives you better control over the image. So let me just show you as to how exactly white balance plays a major role in your image. Okay, so here I have my camera 1DX connected to the laptop and let me just show you what the camera is seeing. So hands on we'll do a small experiment. Okay, and then there we go. So here if you see, let me just change the settings. Okay. Now, so if you look at this setting here, so this is the camera Canon 1DX. So 1DX has auto white balance, then it has daylight, it has shade, cloudy, then I don't know, tungsten, whatever. Okay, so flash, and there are different custom settings, that is the custom white balance, and then the K value. So if I go into the K setting, okay, so currently let me keep it at say 5200 Kelvin, which is the standard daylight. So let me just show you what the camera is looking at. Hold on. Okay, so where is my live view? There you go. Okay, move this way. Okay, there you go. So currently, like this is the zebra from my Masai Mara trip. Okay, so he traveled back all the way from Masai Mara. So here, if you see the white balance, so currently at 5200 Kelvin, you can directly see, I don't have to click and show you. So this is a live view from the camera. So the colors, you have more sort of a standard daylight colors what you are having. Okay, okay. Okay, so here, now what I'll be doing is, let me close this and go ahead and change the white balance. So open the other window. Okay, you come to the side. Super. Now, so from 5200 Kelvin, so typically what happens, anything above 5200 Kelvin, so 6000 Kelvin, any of those things, what happen, okay, you get more of an yellowish cast in the image. and anything less than 5000, so 4000, 3000 Kelvin, you get more bluish cast in the image. So let me show you. So from 5000, I'll get to the lowest, 2500 Kelvin. Okay. So in the live view, you can actually see the change, what happened. So when you keep your white balance at say 2500 Kelvin, you get more of the bluish cast. Now, where do you think this is useful? So this kind of a color cast where it has more bluish color. Okay. So this is helpful early mornings. So landscape photography or even say street photography, any of those early morning photography in the mist. Okay. So be it fog or mist, any of that kind of a situation, if you want to create a different kind of mood in the image, then you can keep the white balance to the lowest most, say 2500, 3000 Kelvin. Okay. Or if you are not able to directly set the K number, then you can use one of the presets. So in your camera, in white balance, if you choose any of the preset, in front of that in the menu option, you will actually see what is the equivalent Kelvin value. Okay, so choose the lowest Kelvin number, and here you get the bluish cast. So if I go to the other extreme, okay, say 10,000 Kelvin. So if I go to 10,000 Kelvin, as you can see in this scene, overall it has sort of got a more yellowish cast. Okay, so this is the kind of impact white balance has on your images. Now, as a photographer, it is left to you as to what kind of color cast or what kind of colors you need in your image. So there is nothing called as the correct or the perfect white balance to use. Okay, so photography is all about what is it that you as a photographer want, not what others want. So as I keep telling in my Facebook posts also, always shoot for yourself and not for others. You decide what kind of white balance you want and you can stick to that. Now, there's another situation where, say, if you're shooting indoors, be it wedding photography or even event photography, any of these genres, where you are not very sure as to what should be the white balance. Okay, so one is you can experiment, or if you want to get the true colors, true vibrant colors without any kind of color shift. So that is where the custom white balance comes into picture. So the way your custom white balance works is where is my sheet of paper? There you go. Okay, so you have to take a white sheet of paper. So for the custom white balance, take a white sheet of paper, hold it in front of the camera. Okay, so complete sheet. Okay, so it should be a full frame. Go ahead and shoot the white sheet of paper. Doesn't matter what white balance you are using. Go ahead, shoot the white sheet of paper, and then in the menu options of your camera, if you go into the custom white balance. Okay, so hold on, there's a question there over there. Okay, so where do you use higher white balance? That's a good question. So what happens is like early morning sunrise or late evening sunset. Okay, so in those situations, if you use a higher white balance number of say 9000 or 10,000 Kelvin, and of course when it comes to exposure, little bit under exposure, those things if you do, you will get brilliant colors. Okay, the overall colors what you get in the sky, the golden yellow or the orange hues, all those things, the reds. Okay, at 10,000 Kelvin, you will get amazing images. Okay, so that is where the creativity comes in. And as I said, the lowermost 2000, 3000 Kelvin is more to do with your creating the mood with respect to fog or mist, early morning, or that kind of a situation. It helps.